Welcome back to Softcore History. I'm your host for the week, Dan Regester. And I'm joined as always by Rob Fox. And special guest, our good pal Nick.
I'm back. Gave me the old name because we're going way back in time on this one.
Nicholas.
That is me,
Nicholas Gregoris.
Maximus.
Now, do you spell it all Greek-like? Is it just a K?
No.
N-I-K?
No, it's CH, but
Hmm.
it's my middle name.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got anglicized with it?
I did.
You gotta go Guy Fieri and de-anglicize your name.
All my Greek relatives liked white women,
Yeah.
and so I think the name just kind of trickled down.
Well, who doesn't?
Yeah.
That's really what minorities don't realize, and it's what I've done myself, even as a white man, is you need to marry a white woman. That's how you move up in society. You marry a white woman.
The whiter the white, the higher in society.
Yeah.
you
Now,
go.
for a long time, that wasn't allowed, and that's exactly why. Because they knew that they were going to lose their white women to them boys, and they didn't want to lose them because they know that's the ladder. That's how you climb the ladder.
We talked about this. The great replacement theory is me being attracted to giant booty Latinas.
I'm following.
See, but think about that. That's how they get you, right? They send in their big booty Latinas, and then you're like, ay ay ay, and you chase after it like a slobbering fucking Warner Brothers.
And then my kids
cartoon
are
character.
Hispanic.
Yeah, but then the men take the white ladies, especially the unmarriable ones, and hopefully dad's got some money, and boom, all of a sudden the whole family is legitimized. You marry up. That is a tale as old as time. It's across cultures.
It's exactly how our topic today got started. Is a bunch of guys in this country that were all duded up went and took a bunch of women from some neighboring towns and expanded their empire.
We'll get to that.
Let's go.
I told Giorgio the topic beforehand.
All right.
With this, we had to bring in a fellow Mediterranean.
Yes.
We're talking about the First Punic Wars. You heard that off the top, though, with the intro. We've talked about Hannibal in the past, but we're doing the prequel.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Is this inspired by the podcast I sent you?
No, this is inspired by Giorgio.
By Giorgio in particular? Okay. Because
So-
that
We try to cater our topic to the
Well,
guest.
also House of the Dragon, so that is a prequel to Game of Thrones. There's less
Okay.
similarities
Okay.
in the Carthaginians and the Valerians.
Also, perhaps a dragon appears in the story.
Yes, there has been official quotes from a Roman that there was a dragon.
oh boy, well, today has a theme then. Because I got a lot of beasts in my episode.
Check that out on Patreon, patreon.com/softcorehistory.
Yes.
But let's
Give me
just
that
get into it.
money.
Let's get into the First Punic Wars. What made Rome?
Okay. Wait, what year is the First Punic War again?
Carthage was founded in 814 BC as the Phoenician trade colony, or in Latin-speaking Rome, the Punic trade colony.
Yes.
And that is where the name comes from. The Phoenicians, what area is that now, Dan?
It's Lebanon.
Yeah, it's in Lebanon, and it's initially or later become the Ottoman Empire, or like the heart of the Ottoman Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, all those cities that are up there in Lebanon, Sidon, Tyre, Sardis, all those cities are like massive trade hubs. It's all like, imagine just like every single one of them. Imagine like the east coast of the United States, right? You have a huge port in Baltimore, a huge port in New York, huge port in, does Philly have a port, do they?
Yeah, we have a port.
Yeah, Philly, huge port in Philadelphia.
Baltimore has a port.
I know Baltimore does. They just that boat just hit it. Everybody, like all just huge Boston, like all Boston Harbor, like all these great port cities that are like commercial empires, basically.
What I'm saying is they all sail west from basically what's now the Middle East into the Mediterranean and into northern Africa.
Yeah, they were dope sailors too. They were the best sailors of the
They
ancient
were
world.
essentially just merchants.
Yeah.
And Carthage is what came of the Phoenicians, and that was the empire.
They set up shop in northern Africa, and that was
And then it became its own thing.
Yeah. It was a semi-democratic republic that built their superpower entirely off trading ivory, gold, slaves, and offering up child sacrifices to Baal, the god of plant fertility.
a god that came over from Phoenicia from the east.
Yes, and in fact, that is what Hannibal's name is based on. This is all of us know way too much about this because you probably just studied it or knew it already because you liked it, but studied it more because you knew it was happening. I, weirdly, incidentally, on accident, listened to a different history podcast while I was mowing the lawn the last 2 weeks, and it was about the Punic Wars.
Are you trying to kneecap me in this episode?
I'm trying to
right now?
kneecap
Are you
your own
trying
bit.
to offer yourself up?
He's trying to kneecap his host.
No,
Sounds like
I'm
it.
gonna do is I'm gonna protect you by kneecapping him, and in the process, it might take you out as well, I guess. But I'm gonna kill his bit.
I'm catching a stray.
Yeah. If you don't know, the last time Giorgio was on, his entire bit was to just submarine fucking torpedo Jake's episode by knowing more about Jake's topic
Rasputin,
than
yeah.
Jake did.
It was 4 years ago.
First of all, I want to say, as a Mediterranean, I'm just in love with the history. And secondly, I think the first, second, and third Punic Wars represent, the first being naval, the second being land, and then the third being in the air, the greatest representation of
The
combat.
U.S. military forces.
Yes,
What was the third Punic War?
in the air.
Okay.
Dragons.
That is not true. But to answer your earlier question, the Punic Wars, the first Punic War was like 260
Okay.
to 240. It's
Okay.
a 24-year span.
Which
Yeah.
is crazy to think about because that's like 200. That's already so America's what, like 250 years old, about roughly. In fact, in 2 years, it'll be 250 years old. The Roman Republic is already basically 250 years old.
Well,
So it's already been around as long as the United States.
They're just returning from a monarchy to a republic around this time. How much before this did that happen?
They're also kind of bucking right now. They're taking over the entire Italian peninsula.
Just fucked up the Etruscans.
They
probably.
haven't really explored outside of that, though.
No, they've pretty much top to bottom. All of Italy is now Rome.
Clean your own house.
This is upstart,
Yeah, clean your own house.
startup culture. We get ping pong tables, lunch catered every Friday.
We're family here.
We don't really pay you much, but, we'll give you some stock options, Rome.
But what body of water is right below that?
Below it, the Mediterranean.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then what
but
island is right
we're going to
there?
get to it. We're getting to Sicily. Please stop stepping all over my shit.
All right, you just go.
I'm gonna mute you. You're gone. I'll toss you out of the pod.
He's going to control
You'll
me
be the
in post.
first person we ever toss off the pod. I'm the storyteller. You're supposed to add.
We're supposed to jump in. All right.
So the two were pretty amicable for hundreds of years. They had good trade relations, formed alliances, and battled similar enemies. The spark of the conflict between these two powers was a little Italian mercenary group known as, go ahead, Giorgio.
Oh, love that this is what.
Oh, it stumped me.
It's the mamertines.
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 How would
Okay.
you describe them?
They were recently unemployed by the city of Syracuse and moseying around looking for some excitement in their now dull lives. I guess if you want to go with the Game of Thrones comparisons, the
The Golden Company.
Golden Company or
Mixed with a little of Chippendales, I think. Or like Wonder
Shirtless.
from Down Under. Like I see them
You see
oiled
them-
up just.
Well, everyone's oiled up.
professional wrestler in the 80s.
Exactly. But now
Yeah.
now everyone knows wrestling's fake, so they have nothing to do.
Yeah. Syracuse, by the way, your people. That's the Greek colony on Sicily.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they find their way to the eastern tip of Sicily in the town of Messana in 288 BC, where peaceful inhabitants welcomed the hired swords with open arms. And boy, was that a bad idea.
It's like welcoming a gang into your like subdivision, your like gated community. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they seem cool. I like their music. It's loud and has drum beats. Let's let them in. They have weapons.
Are you making a case for gentrification through the First Punic War?
I am pro gentrification. Yes, sweep the streets with money, brooms of money. Sweep the rats into the
Kick
sewers.
him off the pot.
Do you want gentrification? Do you not?
I'm already gentrified, so it's fine.
So what'd they do in the city?
They were bored. So realizing they would have virtually zero resistance, the mamertines just decided to just take the town for themselves, murdered and kicked out all the male population, and divided up the property and women as they saw fit, and turned the place into a raiding base for the next 20 years.
Messina is northern Sicily, I think, right?
It's right on the tip to Sicily in Italy, kind of where the
Yeah.
that little
I'm just
what is the water? The
There's a strait
That's right there. Yeah.
I don't know what the strait's called. Is that the Adriatic Sea or is that the one? Adriatic's between Italy and Croatia, right? I think that's the Adriatic. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just trying to remember my Rome Total War map, campaign map. It goes Messina, Syracuse, and then Lillibellum's on the far side. That's the Carthaginian city is Lillibellum, the Roman city is Messina, and the Greek city is Syracuse.
Well, over these next 20 years, the Mamertines then began to plunder their former employer and territory of Syracuse. But unlike the friendly city of Messana, Syracuse fought back. What a bunch of dicks.
I know, right? How dare you?
Let us have your women and your property.
Hey, we're just gonna either kill you or kick you out, send you to the countryside,
Or
rape
sell
your
you
wife,
as slaves.
maybe make you a slave, do stuff to your wife. You'll watch. We'll sell your kids too.
I thought they were going to raise the kids.
They're gonna raise money off the kids.
That's fair.
Yeah.
When you're a hired gun or a hired sword, you're going to raise a child? I don't think so.
I feel like you all are like brothers from another mother in that sense.
What, like Earth?
I don't think a hired sword really has a 5-year or 10-year plan. I think they kind of live in the moment.
Yeah.
True, and the kid probably wants some retribution. Probably best to get rid of him.
Unless you're Andrew Jackson and you just find an Indian boy amongst all the people you slaughtered, and you're like, "Oh, you're cute. You're mine now," and you just raise him like your son. And then when he asks, you're just like, "Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I killed him. I saved you from a life of savagery because I'm fucking Andrew Jackson."
Did he make him march?
No, he adopted. There was some like Indian, like Native American kid he like adopted. Like,
Yeah, but
they
after a
took over-
certain amount of time was Andrew Jackson like, all right, off to Oklahoma you go.
Nah, he kept him around the whole time. He was good. As far as I know, good to him. I mean,
good. So he's
good to him after he murdered his family.
He's good to one native.
After he murdered his family.
It was probably just so he could point like, look, I have a native.
I got one. Yeah,
adopted
check
son.
out my black friend. Check out my native son. How'd you get him? How'd he become your son? Oh, he was an orphan. Oh, who did you make him an orphan? Or did someone
I'm taking care of him, right?
Yeah.
Hey.
What do you want
What are we doing here?
Yeah, you want questions? You want to ask questions or you want to,
But the Mamertines, like, I think that 20 years chilling there kind of made them soft.
No, they were still plundering.
They were, but, like, Syracuse is kind of giving it to them.
They're not hitting hard. They're not hitting hard targets. They're hitting soft targets.
Hiero the tyrant, Hiero II of Syracuse, gathered up an army of Greek citizens, captured Mamertine leaders, and counterattacked the city of Messana. And like you said, maybe they did get soft because the Mamertines apparently were not used to this resistance.
Yeah.
And they reached out to Carthage for help.
That's kind of why I think, like, look, don't be wrong, Vikings are cool, blah, blah, blah. They definitely conquered stuff. They took Paris, whatever. But, like, a lot of this, like, dude, Vikings are so badass. They're, like, the craziest warriors. They would roll into, like, a village, outnumbering them, like...
They had the element of surprise.
Outnumbered them, if not in, like, straight up 10-to-1 numbers or 5-to-1 numbers, like, because maybe the population was roughly the same. But, like,
hitting a lot
the
of
amount
fishing
warriors
villages
and stuff like that. I mean, they were just hitting the ball off the tee most of the time.
They took Paris.
I know. They didn't do nothing. And they were the Byzantine emperor's, like, favorite, what is it, the Varangian Guard or something like that. Like, they was favorite. But I'm just saying, most of what they did, though, they were really just killing civilians. And people were like, wow, it's so hard, dude. They're hard.
They also had their women fight. So progressive.
Hell yeah.
You and your wife just slaughtering innocents.
Doing it in a puddle of blood.
Puddle of mud.
Well, the blood made the mud.
So the Mamertines reached out to Carthage. Carthage hopped on the opportunity as they had long coveted the entire island of Sicily for themselves, fighting with Syracuse for centuries. They sent a force to then form a garrison in Messana. Carthage essentially took over the base of operations, much to the dismay of many Mamertine soldiers. There's a bit of a split between the Mamertine mercenaries, and half reach out to Rome.
Is the Mamertines, so if I remember this correctly, you said the Mamertines were like Italian mercenaries?
They're Italian.
Okay, so the first treaty between Rome and Carthage was essentially like, all right, we're Phoenicians, you're Latins. And then there's also the Greeks or whatever. But they were like, we're cool with you and we'll do business with you, but you keep your Latin shit to your Latin parts of the world, and we'll keep our Phoenician shit to our Phoenician parts of the world. And so I assume the Latins saw them taking over what they thought was a Latin part of the world and were like, hey, hey,
Bibbidi bobbidi, hey,
yeah, hey, what you doing here? Hey, this ain't your block.
Yeah, when they saw that Carthage was setting up shop and they didn't really want to listen to them, they're like, hey, Rome, we're Italians. You're
Yeah.
Italians.
That's history.
And Rome was like, we can wait. What? We can go to war?
Ooh, finally.
Well, not yet. No, we're not there yet.
We can do some fighting. Sorry, do some fighting. Excuse me.
No, because so the Romans come down and they're confused. They're like, why is Carthage here? Carthage is like, why are the Romans coming down? Like, we don't have any issues. We don't have any beef. And as I said earlier, this was not prime Roman Empire that we all know and love just yet.
Yeah, this is like Rome at this point. Man, I'm trying to think of a good example. Okay, it's a good parallel to the United States. Rome at this point is like
Pre-Mexican-American War.
in the 1830s to the Mexican War, basically, right? Not nothing, absolutely not nothing. So, can certainly put up a fight. Not, they're someone to be reckoned with to an extent. Like if they say something, you have to acknowledge it. But like, yeah, would be a dog in any fight, including no one thought the U.S. was going to win the Mexican War. People thought that is our Punic War, as far as I'm concerned. I think I've said that on the show before. Nobody thought the U.S. was going to win the Mexican War. People thought Mexico was bigger and going to have the upper hand. We obviously fucking housed them.
At this time, Rome was not about allowing too much power at a time. They had 2 consuls serve 1 year at a time before being switched out. So what was a measure put in place to keep Roman leaders in check also created this pedal-to-the-metal YOLO mentality to conquer and gain glory and fame as much as they could under their command for the year.
You don't get a naked statue of yourself at home. You go to war and you conquer, and that's how you're remembered forever.
And also, I could be wrong about this, but I think like that also would make people want you to be consul again. I don't know if there was a rule about serving twice in a row, but I'm pretty sure you could be consul more than once.
I think it was a bad look.
To be consul more than once?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you wait a term.
Yeah,
and
you don't
then
do
you
it
go back.
I don't think
I don't think you go
go
back to back. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you could be. And so it's like, dude, let's get Flavius again. Flavius was dope. Do you remember all that shit Flavius did like 3 years ago, dude? Let's do Flavius again.
There also is a bunch of people all named the same thing.
Yeah.
So
like which Flavius? Fucking. Dude, actually, one thing I learned that was really funny in the Carthage shit I was listening to a couple weeks ago is that, boy, everyone is named fucking Hannibal. Everyone is named Hannibal. There are a lot of fucking Hannibals.
There's a couple Hannibals.
It's because Hannibal, it's like, it's named for Baal.
The god.
Yeah, the god.
Plant fertility.
Yeah, it's Hannah means
so many children got sacrificed too.
Mm-hmm.
So many
It's
children.
like, hey, Dad, how about you just like water that plant instead? And he's like, nah, son, just come here.
Hold on. Yeah, throw him in the fire.
Romans go into Messana. Carthage forces were confused and ultimately left without much conflict as they were being escorted out of the city, walls by the Mamertines and Romans. General Hanno and his forces get back to Carthage, regroup, and strategize how to respond to the surprise power struggle for Messana. Unfortunately, though, our boy Hanno never got a chance at redemption. In typical Carthage fashion, he was crucified for his cowardice and misjudgment.
Yeah, they don't like a loser.
No. And I think that kind of like also like these 2 different ideologies are very important to go through all of the Punic Wars. Is a lot of the Carthaginians are very conservative because they don't want to come back as a failure and get crucified.
Yeah, they don't want to die. So you have one side that's like, we only get punished for failing, and the other side's like, only upside.
Yeah.
We will get as much fame and glory for what we do, and if we fail, it's not really a big deal.
So Romans kind of playing with house money.
Yes.
Carthaginians
Are playing with their mortgage.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And I'm already down half a stack.
Yeah.
That metaphor kind of only makes sense because they were so rich.
They were
Carthage?
they're
Oh, yeah.
so well. Half their forces too aren't even their citizens.
Yeah.
It's just mercenary groups.
Which doesn't ever work well.
No,
Nope.
that comes into play later.
Roman consuls were rewarded for victories, where Carthage generals were punished for their failures. With Romans encroaching on Syracuse territory, They made a pact with their traditional enemies in Carthage to put the Romans back in their place. They surrounded the city of Messana, thinking they could get the occupied forces to pick up and leave, only to get their ass whipped by the Roman legions in the Battle of Messana.
Damn. And this is like you were saying, like this isn't Rome yet. This is early Rome. So this is the Marian reforms. So they're not even considered, they're not even legionaries. They're not legions yet. They're what are they called? Like hatatsai, princeps.
I'm not doing that.
Hatatsai.
I'm just going to go with legion.
That's fine, but they are not. The Marian reforms kind of changed just the way. This is pre the Roman army going like full sicko mode, right? This is like the American army before World War II, basically. Or like World
They're
War II.
still pretty dope.
They are.
On
And so
land.
is the U.S. Army before World War II, but post World War II, it just goes to a whole nother fucking level. Like an insane. Like if you look at the U.S. military engagements from the end of World War II on, like actual engagements, like, you know, certainly Vietnam didn't end the way we wanted it to, Iraq 2.0 and Afghanistan and the way we wanted to, whatever. But in terms of like actual engagements, we never lose fights, ever. It's only political losses. And that is, eventually that kind of becomes like a Roman thing too for a while. But yeah. I'm just saying, like, they're not in even full sicko mode yet.
Syracuse and Sicilian forces immediately jumped sides after this defeat.
No one wants to be on the losing side.
No.
And also, aren't the Romans really more culturally... Actually, I guess that's debatable because the Greeks got their alphabet from the Phoenicians. So... But then the Romans are... I don't know. The Romans haven't conquered Greece yet, so they haven't really stolen a lot of their traditions yet.
The Greeks adopted a lot more from the east and then took that to Sicily, where the Romans adopted a lot more from the Gauls and the Celts, correct?
Early on, I think, it was more... Yeah. But then once they were in quite a bit more contact with the Greeks and stuff like that, they became more Greek.
Yeah, and then Rome expands everywhere and takes from everyone.
Carthage builds up forces at Agrigentum. Rome lays siege. There's a bit of a starve-off. They were certainly hurting the Carthage forces, but Rome themselves was lacking in resources, as it was truly the first time not fighting on the Italian peninsula and crossing water. So getting food and all the supplies they need across water was a bit of a problem for them.
And it was I don't know we need someone to look up the actual like amount of mileage it is, but it's not very far. Which is also a testament to the Rome's navy at this time being absolutely nothing. They're basically
They have
on
no
barges.
Navy. Yeah, they have no navy.
They're like pushing stuff and like hoping it floats.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're getting starved off, and then something else happens, right?
Carthage sends reinforcements. The siege, the Roman siege.
Double siege power!
It's a siege outside of a siege, inside of a siege.
It's in siegeception.
In siegem.
In siegem.
They're all losing their minds because they're essentially starving, and they're just like, fuck it. Let's get on the battlefield. Let's do this. Let's handle this. Let's handle business. Rome wins. And by wins, I mean they killed 7,000 Carthaginians
God damn.
and lost 30,000 men. But they won. It's a dub.
I'm happy for them.
They won with numbers.
That's
They
like
just threw bodies.
when you and your homies go out and you kind of have to, take home the torta. It's still a dub, but is it
What's the torta?
large Mexican lady?
I mean, yeah, it's a win. It's a win.
You're helping your boy out.
That's what I'm saying.
So he gets the dub.
Do you not? That's what I'm saying. It's exactly like this. You lost 30,000 men.
Rome wanted to build off the momentum for this win and take the entire island of Sicily, but that would require resources that they lacked and a navy they didn't have. Going against one of the best naval empires at the time, in Carthage, mind you. As luck would have it, the Carthaginian quinquirion grounded on Italian soil. A Roman legion captured it, copied the design with the giant bronze rams in the front of the ships, and went to work on a fleet from scratch. They built 120 warships in 2 months.
It's like a 30-minute boat ride today across the strait.
Yeah. And Rome couldn't do that for the longest time. Until right now. Until they have copy technology. They're the China of The ancient civilization.
China, we did an episode on that not that long ago about how what China views one of the main ways that empires rise is by stealing tech from other empires. And Rome did that consistently.
Rome only stole.
Their
Yeah.
swords,
I mean, they did
their
a lot
shields, their gods.
Good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Yeah.
Rome's a great artist.
Yeah.
Rome was the greatest artist.
So am I, Dan.
Consul Scipio, or
Either way.
Scipio the Younger.
Scipio, goes out with his new
no, the original one,
boats
sorry.
to Lipara, believing he could convince them to join the Roman cause. They enter the harbor and are surrounded by a Carthaginian fleet. You may be able to copy someone's work, but when you have to put into practice that knowledge that was never truly yours, it quickly exposes you.
Didn't know how to fight on water.
Nope.
Not yet.
Big W for the Carthaginians.
Not yet.
Carthaginian Empire was built by seafaring people. It was in their blood. They were faster, fiercer, and outclassed
is your ally.
and outmaneuvered the Romans with ease.
You merely adopted the darkness.
The Roman
I was
fleet
born in it.
got pulverized and
Pulver-
suffered a humiliating defeat. Cornelius Scipio was given the nickname Asina, which translates to donkey.
Or
ass.
ass.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like donkey better.
Wait, wait.
I actually think it's more insulting now to be called a donkey.
Being
than
called a
ass.
donkeys, yeah, way worse.
Let's keep track of how many naval fleets Rome has lost. That is 1.
So far.
So far.
Not
Yeah.
not the whole fleet, though. It's just a couple boats.
It don't matter.
Huh?
Don't matter. Respawn.
So the Romans had a knack for replicating their enemies' weapons and designs, but they also would like to improve on it. This is where this giant swiveling spiked boarding device called the Corvus is created by the Romans.
I just love that they're essentially like, dude, you know what? Like, fighting on water is hard, but we're pretty sick at fighting on land. What if we make land fighting on water?
Yeah, what if we just make a giant hammer?
Yeah, what if we just land fight them on the water? You can't make land on the water, you idiot. Wait, hold on. I got an idea. Check out this plank I made with a knife in it.
Just sticks into the
Yeah.
boat.
Oh, and they're like, oh, fuck, sick, bro.
It's basically a crane.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
just swivels around and then drops
Bang.
down.
And then you land fight on the water.
And you also do some damage to their boat
Yeah.
with a little spike.
Not very aerodynamic though. Let's point that out as well.
Which is why Carthage was laughing at them when they saw it initially. It's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck is that thing?
That's stupid. Yeah.
Till the
Hey, idiots.
giant Roman.
So how was Carthage fighting on the water? Just like bows
Ramming.
and arrows?
Just
ramming
ramming.
and ramming. Okay.
So that bronze
Yeah.
front that he was talking
Yeah.
about just shoots right through.
That's my
Breaking
favorite.
through boats.
That's my favorite part about the Confederate. So the Confederates made the first ironclad, right? And then Union came back with the monitor, the little cheese box thing. But the Confederate one, they're like, all right, let's put these cannons on it, and then you know what? Fuck it, let's put a ram under it. So they just put like a ram underwater. Like several of the boats that the CSS Merrimack sank were from ramming.
Is he gonna keep talking about wars that he knows about?
I know about this war, bitch. I'll fucking start dropping shit.
When the Carthaginian fleet went to ram, the Romans slammed down the Corvus and would board their enemy ships, turning traditional sea battle into something more familiar in hand-to-hand combat. In 260 BC, the Romans got their first naval win at the Battle of Mylae.
Were the Carthaginians even prepared for that? Was it just like boarding a cruise ship at that point? Like you have weapons and they don't really?
I don't know what you're saying.
He's saying were they just chilling? Were
Are you
they
saying the
just sailors?
Carthaginians couldn't answer the Romans?
Like I'm saying, like on the boats, were they even fucking prepared?
Yeah, they had weapons.
but like enough. You know what I mean? Like, were they prepared for a boarding party?
No.
That's what I'm saying.
So it was a game changer, yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's like I was saying. Is it like attacking a cruise ship? Like, yeah, I'm sure there's a couple security guards.
Yes, a cruise ship that tries to just run through fishing boats.
But the thing is, though, their only weapon is the ram. Maybe some archers.
It's more like attacking like a cargo carrier where they put the water jets out for the
Yeah,
pirates.
yeah, yeah.
So it's like there's a little bit of defense.
But not enough. Once you're on, you're good to go.
Once you're on, I am the captain now.
Yeah.
Carthage was stunned. The general in charge of the defeat, Hannibal Gisco, was, of course, crucified.
Poor Gisco.
Why even? Maybe your family would get fucked up if you didn't. I would just be like, I'll be jumping in the water now and swimming the other direction, boys.
The battle for Sicily turned into a slog. Siege is laid on town after town. Some would fall. Carthage would counterattack. Romans would answer. It's becoming a bit of a stalemate on the island, with territory getting swapped back and forth. In 256 BC, Consul Marcus Attilius Regulus decided to forego more attacks on Sicily and made plans to just go for the head of the snake itself.
Yep, just
Just
bazooka.
go to Carthage.
Right to Carthage, baby. Let's go. Run it to the end zone.
They ramped up boat production, and Carthage answered. Hearing of these plans, it all came to a head at the Battle of Cape Ecnomus, where 680 warships and 300,000 men took part in one of the largest naval conflicts in human history.
So I love the setup for this. All right. So Carthage does like a blockade. So it's just a straight line of all the Carthaginian ships. I think more ships than they've ever had to begin with, right? And then Rome is coming down, and they do like a Mighty Ducks flying V formation because like we're gonna punch it.
They have
right
a wedge,
through.
yeah.
Like we're gonna wedge it through. Like we're the Bears. Give it to the fridge. pound it
They're
in the end
behind the
zone.
net. They're like, the V.
Exactly. So they're V'd up because Rome's coming to siege Carthage. So they're also pulling a bunch of ships behind them with like farm animals,
Right.
and stuff to build. So like they're ready to like.
So they got to stay tight. And Carthage is spread out.
But the dummy tactics you gonna talk about? Or we keep going.
So as, Rome tries to pierce through this thin line, Carthage just kind of surrounds them, engulfs them in what is like on land known as like a pincer.
Yeah.
Like a pincer formation
Yeah.
type. But on sea.
I think Hannibal the Younger takes a lot of this and applies it to his land battles later in the Second Punic War. But in this case,
he literally has that pincer movement was eventually named after the most famous battle it was used in, called a Cannae.
but here it's a little different.
Yeah, Carthaginians generals lured in the Romans, and the Romans ultimately came out on top, taking down 94 Carthaginian ships and 40,000 soldiers, while only suffering 24 ships and 10,000 casualties of their own. But I mean, I think as far as the game plan went, Carthage pulled off what they wanted to do.
I think it was a scaling issue.
It was kind of like the team MMA in Russia.
Oh, exactly.
Where you knock out, 2 or 3 guys, it's 10 on 10, then it becomes 10 on 7, and then it just gets easier.
I mean, but then you just need to go into straight up phalanx battle tactics. Like, you can't just be because I've seen those videos before where they're like, everyone's just fighting, and then, a guy gets knocked out, and then now somebody's 2-on-1. You got to basically, from the beginning, go into a formation. I'm sure because, by the way, the first battles that ever happened in modern human history, and by that I mean Paleolithic
Again, it's
on.
not really easy to maneuver these boats.
Which was the whole point
the
of it.
boats are different,
There were so many boats.
That's the whole thing. This is all on sea. So they're all jammed together. They spread out to 3 different skirmishes, but it's still hard to move, especially when shit's sink in. Things are on fire.
They should have just been scramble! Everyone just goes on their own.
Yeah, but then you go back to Carthage and get crucified.
You can't go back to Carthage and get crucified.
Well, boys.
You just can't go back home. If you lose, you just got to be like, all right, I'm out.
You just need to go to
Going to
America,
Greece.
which you don't even know exists at that
Going
point.
to Greece.
Going to Spain.
After this victory, it was smooth sailing to Africa. The Punics decided to put all their resources to defending Carthage and let Rome have free reign to plunder Aspis and the countryside. Regulus and his forces begin their march to Carthage, where they allegedly encounter what ancient Roman scholar Livy described as a dragon.
Okay.
I guess they conquered the dragon.
So they're in northern Africa, just pillaging these small towns of I'm assuming completely different ethnicities of people, to be honest.
Do you think they just murked a giraffe?
Probably.
Or a big lizard?
Probably. When did the Sahara become the Sahara? I'm trying to remember. It was probably already the Sahara at this point, but there was a while where the Sahara was green.
Yeah, isn't part of it really lush? Could these be large snake creatures?
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like to think, we took down a dragon. It's just a fucking giraffe.
Honestly, this was just a pillaging fuckfest.
It was 2500 BC. It stopped being kind of lush.
2,000 years.
Yeah, so it was when they were building the pyramids, basically.
Oh, that's debatable.
The Carthaginians that weren't killed or captured and sold into slavery in the countryside all bolted for the city of Carthage, and it became overran with traumatized citizens of the state, and resources and food were going pretty quick. Regulus, realizing his year as consul was almost up, and he was so close to victory. He asked for the unconditional surrender of Carthage so he would get all the glory and not get vultured by his successor.
So this is like let's use a fantasy football analogy here.
It's the running back getting down to the 1 yard line,
Yep.
and they bring in the third down running back.
Yep.
Yes.
They bring down the goal line back.
And
You
you're
don't get-
pissed.
And
Yeah.
you're like, no.
Yeah.
Give
I get
me
the
this
6.
ball.
Come on, bro. I just ran it 60 yards over the course of like 8 downs. Come on. And they're like, nah, we got to bring in the biggest motherfucker you've ever seen
So he's like,
to
hold
go
up.
1 yard. Or you know what another good analogy for that is? Just Tim Tebow snaking touchdowns from his own running backs.
Yeah. In
Respect
college,
that.
Yeah.
That's how you win a Heisman, though.
You steal you're a goal line back who throws the ball. Yeah, basically.
Taking great offense to his harsh demands, it reinvigorates Carthage. They hire a mercenary Spartan, and this is your boy,
Xanthus, I believe.
Xanthippus,
Xanthippus.
to lead their already incredibly diverse
Let's talk about Xanthus for a minute.
and unorganized land forces. He's a Spartan.
Spartan. So they were like, oh crap, we're like hold up. The siege is going horrible. All the resources are running out. And he's like, let's bring in the Greek. This is Boondock Saints. Like, let's
Gotta
Right.
call him the fixer.
yeah, exactly.
The prisoner who's in a bird cage, he's so dangerous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he comes in and is like,
We have nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
let's talk about some of the. So there's some early land battles between them before they bring in Xanthippus, and Carthage is just getting their butts kicked.
Because apparently what they would do is not lead with the war elephants,
No, so they're up on this hill.
which seems like a mistake.
It depends, man. I look, in my experience, fighting with war and against war elephants in Rome Total War, and also in Age of Empires and stuff like that.
You guys are both insufferable this episode. This is insane.
No, but like in Rome Total War, if you just like send the elephants at the enemy like first, you'll get a unit. You'll knock a unit or two out maybe, but they are gonna die. Like they're gonna get surrounded. They're gonna fucking die. You need to use them you want to use them fairly quickly in the battle, but like
You want an intimidation factor.
if
If they're in the back, they're not really going to do much. And if they do get spooked, they're going to run and kill your army.
You want the enemy. It's honestly, it's kind of like any other cavalry to an extent. Like you want the enemy engaged, and then you use them to you use those units to break them.
Well, you understood they had the Numidian cavalry, which was some of Africa's finest horse riders, which was basically the Dothraki of Africa at this
Right.
point in time. Horse riders and spear throwers. And a lot of the base camps were on these hilly, uneven terrains so they could look down upon the Roman encampments, but their cavalry and elephants were basically rendered useless.
What, coming down the hills?
Exactly.
Because they always fought in like uneven land. They didn't have really good generals at this point, except for a few.
Who?
Carthage.
Okay.
Xanthippus,
Well, they keep crucifying.
They keep crucifying
Like imagine like
all their good leaders.
Grant loses one battle in the Civil War, and they're like, "Well, buddy, it was a nice run."
So dudes are getting promotion on the fly. And yeah, it's just like hodgepodge melting pot army.
yeah.
Nobody speaks the same language. You're constantly running into issues with your own men. Maybe some
That's
friendly
actually
fire.
a very underrated problem in a lot of armies over history. In that, like, you use it. It's like the Persians had this problem. A lot of people have this problem where like you build this humongous army, but they speak 20 different languages because it's from all your diverse different territories or whatever. And it's just like you gotta have like communication's a fucking problem.
Xanthippus comes in, changes shit up.
He does. Takes his army, now leading with the war elephants, to meet Regulus at the Bagradas River, and he pulls off a decisive victory, even capturing Regulus.
Uh-oh.
So they got the consul.
We don't negotiate with terrorists, though.
His reward for potentially saving Carthage, Xanthippus was chased out of town.
Why?
Carthage
The
leaders
shine was too heavy on
were
Xanthippus.
too jealous.
Ah.
He came through stunting so hard.
Oh, whatever, dude. We could have fucking led with the war elephants. Fucking.
Like anyone could have came up with that
Anybody
idea.
could have said, let's do the elephants first. Oh, do the elephants first? That's not even that creative.
No, it was more like Drake. It was like, oh, this dude's a problem. We got to get him out.
Sending Kendrick to kill him.
Pretty much.
I think they were maybe concerned that if he just kept winning battles, maybe the Carthage people would be like, hey, maybe he should just
You
run
do it.
everything.
Yeah, you do it.
The guy who keeps winning
That's a
stuff.
bad way to run any
You shouldn't be afraid of
organization.
success. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't chase off the talent.
No. So we got Regulus, and he's captured.
He is. So Regulus goes back to the Carthage.
They let him go.
They do. But they ask that he goes to Rome, ask for their unconditional surrender,
Sure.
and then after, come on back and die. We need your word that you're going to go to Rome. You're going to ask for their surrender. You guys are going to surrender. You're going to come back with the peace treaty, the offering, bend the knee, and then also we're going to take your head.
Right. Then we will behead you after you've done all these things for us.
So Regulus, being a man of honor, does just that.
What?
He goes back to Rome. Obviously, the Senate are like, why the hell would we take the L? We're so close to catching the dub. Regulus agrees, and they should continue to fight. But since he gave Carthage his word, he would return. And he did just that. He went back to Carthage, was tortured to death, and he became a immortalized symbol of Roman virtue by Carthage for keeping his word.
So he got what he originally wanted. Because what
He
he
got
really
a statue.
wanted, he wanted that naked statue.
Yeah.
Just by the people on the other side. Because he's a man of
Statue's a
his word.
statue.
He's a man of his word.
Flags fly forever.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't specify where that flag was going to fly, but
Hooker by crook.
Roman ships went to pick up the rest of the soldiers stuck in Africa after Regulus gets executed to regroup and strategize again in Sicily. After picking up the stranded, they were caught in a massive storm on the way back off the coast. And 284 Roman ships, or nearly 80% of their entire fleet, was lost, and over 100,000 men drowned.
good Lord. That'd be a sick place to send James Cameron.
Just find all those ships.
Yeah. Just go find 100,000 Roman bones.
Loosely all in the same place.
Yeah, although they're obviously dissolved, I guess, at that point. You can find other stuff.
Would they be dissolved?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they're long gone. But all their other shit should still be there. Like any metal,
Yeah.
whatever, that'll be there.
Get those bronze ramming devices.
Hell yeah.
Get the corpus.
They go back to pick up the boys, and then everyone's gone.
They took an L from gods.
Yeah. So the Carthage is like, all right.
Ball, let's
You'll
go.
start to realize that Rome takes a lot of nature L's. Not a whole lot of L's on the battlefield.
But Rome also doesn't take no for an answer.
They don't.
Even if it seems overwhelmingly obvious that the answer is no, they themselves are like, no.
They're too aggressive.
Yeah, like they just, no is, like, there's...
Rob, the consul only has a year
Yeah.
to accomplish what he wants to do.
And when
To
you...
get that glory.
when-
That sweet, sweet glory.
When one consul gets a no, that's not a consul to, or that's not a no to Rome. That's a no to the consul. Then there's a new consul. Question gets re-asked.
All gas, no brakes.
Yeah, all gas.
But we are on now
Leroy Jenkins.
the third fleet of ships.
Not yet.
Or they're building it, sorry.
This is the second.
This is the second one that goes down.
Rome responds by building 220 more ships in the next 3 months.
Good Lord.
They were a factory.
Boy, that economy, it's booming.
Creating
What
jobs.
you know?
Yeah. Carthage is a job creator.
Maybe not jobs, but maybe slaves. Probably slaves.
Whatever.
Tomato, tomato.
It still is creating jobs because there's not that many slaves.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They send their brand new fleet out, and it gets caught in another massacre of a storm, and they lose 150 ships almost immediately. Right after they build 220.
Build some more. At this point,
They do.
Rome was still not deterred and went back to building more ships as Carthage was just stunned at the audacity of their enemies' actions.
spite me once.
Like, these guys will not stop.
Yeah.
They keep just getting lost to the sea, but they come back stronger.
There's nothing. Like Neptune literally rises up every time they touch water and just murders them. And they're like, you won't do it again. You won't.
Rome decides, though, maybe let's shift the war back to Sicily. It's closer. We don't have to navigate the seas that much.
Yeah, a little easier to...
They lay siege to the incredibly fortified city of Lilybaeum in 250 BC that would last for 9 years. During this time, Carthage sends their best military mind, Hamilcar Barca, Hannibal's dad, to Sicily, and he starts a guerrilla warfare campaign, picking off Roman legions behind the enemy lines.
Okay. I feel like Sicily's not that big, but I guess everything's bigger back then because you can't travel as fast.
Mm-hmm.
So
They're laying siege on this giant town, this giant city on Sicily, and Hamilcar's just kind of going rogue,
just hitting the supply line.
doing his own thing.
Yeah.
So he's not even really attached to anybody else in the Carthage military.
Also, I know they're laying siege to it, but like, does Lilybaeum or whatever still have access to the sea uninterrupted?
So it does. It's a port.
Right. Which means,
There's no blockade at this time, no.
yeah, so it's fine. Like, the whole point of a siege is like, you can't get stuff. We surrounded you.
Romans try to have a little blockade right there, but it's not really successful.
Yeah,
they don't know
break-
what they're doing.
Right. So supplies.
They just built these boats again.
Supplies still come pouring in. Because, again, the whole point of a siege is like, in 4 years, you won't have any food left.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have an open port and you're a part of a naval empire and no one can blockade your port from getting shit in there, then your siege is just, you're just standing outside of a city at that point.
True, but at this point in
Come on
time,
out, guys.
Yeah.
Please?
I dare you.
most of Carthage's ships are tied up in the war effort, and a lot of them have been destroyed. They aren't churning ships out like Rome is.
Okay.
Like, I don't think they're like rebuilding their navy quite as much. Rome's taking these huge L's, and Carthage is taking like little percentages here and there. But
Death
they're
by
not,
1,000 cuts. Kinda.
Yeah, like Carthage is your RPG player, and they're not getting heals.
But the war at sea and land start to grind to a standstill. At this time, Roman consul Claudius Pulcher wants to go off the map and attack the Carthage fleet at Drepana. Before engaging, however, he tried to feed some chickens to see if it was a sign from the gods that they would feast. The chickens would not eat, however, so Pulcher delayed the attack, waiting for another sign.
Smart.
The gods answered by having the Roman boats dismantled by Carthaginians.
What, like, they showed up and
Surprise attack.
pulled them apart? Or?
Just rammed them.
Okay.
Yeah, just classic Carthaginian
Yeah.
naval tactics.
Yeah.
Ram through them.
See, he didn't read the sign right. The chickens weren't eating, and it's like, yeah, your boats ain't going to eat either.
Well, this is also like an overcoaching tactic too, because the Romans at this point in time have pulled the Corvuses off the ships.
The what?
The Corvus?
Oh.
Yeah. So the thing that was basically winning them all their battles. On the rebuilding process, they were like, nah, we don't really need that.
They're getting
anymore.
too cute.
Yep.
What got them to the dance, they no
Right.
longer took.
Yeah. It's like type of thing where it's like, there was a time in college football for a while where you would do the spread offense, but then people would be like, we got to grow up, man. We can't just keep doing the spread. You know, like
Pound the rock.
yeah, but you gotta be like, if you want to be like a real successful team, you gotta start, pounding the rock. If you're getting a little more pro style, like, okay, it's fine. The spread got us this far. It's like, no, dude, keep slinging it, sling it forever.
Move away from the bubble screen.
Also, another storm just savages the Roman fleet, and 50,000 more men die.
Is this? I feel like the Mediterranean is kind of storm free. Like
They must have hit a bad month.
Like, for real, like the Mediterranean. So like Southern California is considered a Mediterranean climate, right?
Okay.
There's earthquakes certainly there, but that's not even a Mediterranean thing. That's just where LA is, but and San Francisco and stuff is. But like in general, it's pretty mild in terms of like storms and shit like that.
Global warming, bro.
Oh.
Different times.
Yeah.
Also gods.
retracted. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the Carthaginians apparently had. Obviously, they had Baal on their
Is Baal
side.
a storm god?
No, he's a plant god.
Plant
Okay.
fertility.
But it requires rain for plant fertility. So maybe he does control the weather.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, no. Yeah, storm. Baal was particularly associated with the storm and fertility god Hadad and his local manifestations. So, like Baal's...
Did they just make Baal a god of everything? He was. I mean, he was their main guy. He was their dude. So he probably took over. He wore many hats.
So Hadad was Baal's boy, I think.
Okay.
So like Baal would just be like, "Hey, my guys are in trouble. I'm gonna call my best friend, the storm god."
It's a good plan.
Yeah.
Seems.
Oh no, I'm
seems-
sorry. Baal is the god of fertility, weather, rain, wind, lightning, seasons, war, and sailors.
There you go.
So this is a
Oh, dude, Carthage probably sacrificed so many children during this time.
yeah
Over 23 years.
Oh my god!
How many kids
How
did
did they
kill?
even have any people left at that point?
It's like the Ukraine.
Pretty much.
After 23 years, both sides were exhausted. They had no money, no supplies, no men, and neither was particularly close to claiming the overall win. Carthage called back much of their naval and land forces and left Hamilcar to essentially fend for himself on Sicily, thinking there was no way Rome would continue to triple and quadruple and just hunt it down on their new fleet. They would just keep building boats, but they were wrong.
Yeah,
Rome
was like a
doesn't take
Moor.
no for an answer.
No. No is never a final answer to Rome. It's an answer, but they're just like, all right. It's like the most annoying salesman you've ever dealt with. They're like, okay, I hear you. I bet, like, there was, you live in a house, right?
Yeah.
If you get to fucking bug people
Uh-huh.
come soliciting by.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude.
No, I think it's more like startup culture again. They're just like, we're failing. Let's spend our way out of this.
Yeah, also
Something
that.
will make it big.
Yeah.
Carthage turned much of their military fleet back into merchant ships and tried to get back to making that sweet, sweet trade in money, unaware that Rome refused to fizzle out. The final straw was at the Aegates, where the new Roman fleet dismantled a now underfunded and minimal Carthage war fleet. Realizing Rome would never quit under any circumstances, Carthage called for Hamilcar to negotiate a peace deal. Hamilcar, displeased with the order and feeling betrayed by his own senate, handed it off to his subordinate, Gisco.
I like how that's just such a nightmare to be like, oh my god, they're back. Oh, Jesus Christ, they will not stop.
Also, Hamilcar has to be thinking, they're asking me to surrender, but everyone that surrenders or loses the battle or does anything gets crucified.
Right.
What am I going to do?
Like,
He's
is
also
this-
on a
is this a test?
heater.
Yeah, is this
He's just been playing solo campaign, just crushing it. He's at the blackjack table.
Yeah.
yeah,
he
he's
hasn't been
doing
losing.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, what do you mean me surrender? What?
We have to go home.
It's your problem.
Yeah. Sounds like a marketing problem.
Crushing it in Sicily.
The Treaty of Lutatius, I believe it's called Lutatius.
Yeah.
I didn't look it up.
Whatever.
Was signed. Carthage evacuated Sicily, handed over all Roman prisoners, and agreed to a payment of 3,200 talents of silver a year to the Romans over the next 10 years, which I didn't do the translation, but a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's like a crippling amount of money.
Well, they hit him. They hit him with the 22,000 silver talents they had to pay over 20 years, and then we're like Gucci, and then they came back with no, we're gonna need that like another 10 on top of that, and then I'm gonna need it in 10
Well,
years.
I think it's worth noting that Carthage did control the biggest silver mines in the known world at that time. Spain, good silver country.
Not yet.
No, yeah, they were mining silver in Spain.
The silver never leaves.
No, but I thought it was Hannibal's campaign in Spain where they gained those silver mines.
I'm pretty sure they already had them there.
I could be.
I could be wrong about
I could
that,
be wrong
but
as well.
I could have sworn they already had them.
Rome, along with the silver and Sicily, took Sardinia and Corsica
Yep.
without conflict, even though that was not a part of the treaty. There's
They were
like,
just
this
like,
is ours now.
They're like, we had Sicily.
We
Those
got it.
kind of look like Sicily. They're islands.
They're
They're
right
around
there.
us.
Yeah, Corsica, obviously the birthplace of Napoleon.
Yep.
These harsh and even unagreed to terms led to a simmering rage in Carthage, specifically in the household of Hamilcar Barca, who would, of course, pass down his unfiltered hatred for the Romans to his son Hannibal.
Thank God he didn't have any Jews to blame. It's like Germany between World War I and World War II. They're like, I swear to God, we should have won. We should have won. Somebody's fault.
That's kind of how Hannibal feels. He's like the politicians.
Yeah.
It's like those damn politicians made me surrender. And he's like, now we got to basically go to Spain and murder a bunch of people and get all this money for them.
And Carthage is a pretty diverse place at this point.
Yeah, it's like a fucking crossroads. Like it's a merchant. It's like a port city.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He goes up to young Hannibal in his crib and grabs him and he's like, You will
avenge me.
Avenge me, son.
avenge Carthage.
Avenge me. Yeah.
And
Kinda
if
does.
you want to hear about the Second Punic War, we did an episode on that on Hannibal
Yes.
with Jake. back in the
way
day.
back. Not that long. Well, a
Year
year ago.
a year ago when Oppenheimer came out. I wrote it when I was on mushrooms after.
Oh, yeah, because we already done our Oppenheimer episode. So we went and saw Oppenheimer, then you were on mushrooms already, and it was like 1 in the morning. You're like,
And I was
I'm
like,
gonna
I'll just stay up and write an episode on Hannibal.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It was great. I had a good time.
Fair enough.
I had a great time here tonight. Thank you guys for having me here. I really
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
coming, man. What'd you learn today, if you learned anything?
I learned don't step on the host's toes or he will throw you out of a podcast. I heard that Rob will apply every tactic that he can to try to get a
Rome.
leg up
Total
in the
War.
conversation. And
I am Rome.
At this point, I think you're sponsored by Total War. I don't know if they're giving you a check that you haven't told Dan about, but
I haven't seen a
wish.
dime.
Nor will you ever. You don't even know who makes Total War. That's the company said
Nor
it.
will I want to. They will never sponsor this show.
use promo code Softcore. That
Yeah.
does nothing.
We got to get like one of those awful phone games to sponsor us, right?
I know, right? Like, what is
Like
Clash of Clans?
Is that Kate Upton's thing?
No, but that was even fucking lamer. That was what was that dumb shit? That was like Ebony or
When
something.
Kate Upton was a thing for like
yeah.
5 minutes.
It's like build your empire, and she's just like in this like Greek outfit, but it's like a medieval game, I think, or something. And they're like, your empire will last 1,000 years.
See, that's Carthage spending a bunch of money trying to break into a market.
UCF, my college, also has a little bit of a, crisis or identity crisis with. We have the medieval knight, but we also have a bunch of like Greek mythology and all these different things that
And then a cartoon
we just kind of
orange.
threw together.
And the Spaceman.
Space Orange.
Space
Yeah,
Orange.
Space Orange.
Could you do a Space Knight?
Yeah, I think you need an astronaut riding some sort of alien steed. With
He rides Pegasus.
All right, astronaut riding Pegasus with a lightsaber. What do you call that fucking thing? The pole, the jousting pole.
Joust.
Just a lightsaber
Javelin?
joust.
It's a joust.
Or no, it's a
Whatever.
lance.
Lance. There you go. A lightsaber lance.
A joust? And you just said that with confidence.
It's just a joust, dude.
Just
yeah,
a
It's
joust.
a joust. That's what it's called, jousting.
Well, yeah, it is jousting.
yeah.
Hopefully there's some
And
jousting
they were
tonight.
trying to make jousting a thing as like our like it was kind of sketch. It's hard to do like in person because like this, but if you do it wrong, you almost like are a white nationalist.
Yeah.
But if you turn it this way, it's jousting.
Yeah, it's not. Doesn't work. Doesn't work at all.
It's just too close.
Yeah.
It's like euphemism for sex.
Yeah. It also, yeah, there's nothing good with that. That doesn't work.
Who's today's Hitler?
Carthage, just for crucifying everyone that took one L. They killed themselves by killing themselves.
And did a lot of baby killing, too.
So many children died. Yeah, I guess Carthage was the bad guy here.
And that's not, so there's some people that say like, oh, a lot of that was like Roman propaganda or whatever. No, they found temples filled
Actually, you know
with
who it
baby
was?
bones.
It was the mamertines.
For
the
just
mamertines.
kicking it all off.
They're lost to history, but they started essentially what was the ancients' World War.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they were just a bunch of dudes hanging out.
They're just like, you know what?
They were welcomed again with open arms to a very friendly city, and they were just bored. And we're like, "This is ours now,
Yeah.
and
This
we're gonna take it with force."
Sucks for not killing anyone here. You've already gotten laid. You're pretty drunk. You're kind of over whatever like gambling game is being played at the time, and you're like, dude, The sweetest thing to do is kill people. Like, let's just do it.
Yeah,
do it.
I'm kind of bored. You know, I've lost all my money in this dice game.
Shit sucks, dude.
And that's the episode for today. Thanks for joining us, Nicholas.
You're
Where can
welcome.
the good people find you?
You can find me at Just Giorgio on Instagram. Me and Dan used to have a pod together that we might be restarting again if he ever comes back to my house.
We'll see. You got to be in town.
Also, it feels really
It's a UFC podcast, by the way.
yeah.
Fighting. All things mixed martial arts.
Just to be back in the studio. You know, it feels like old times. Nothing has changed, but there's a bunch more furniture in here now.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And all you old Drinking Bros fans, Softcore fans, hit me up.
I also don't want to change anything in the studio because only me and you know how everything work here.
Right, and if you touch one thing, it could cause like a...
No, it's not that. It's job security.
Ah,
If I change anything and teach people how to do it, I could lose my job.
Yes.
that's true.
I mean, you teaching me how to do anything,
That was on me.
that's kind of why you lost your job.
I was Regulus. I pushed too hard at the goal line when I should have.
And I vultured that touchdown.
Goal line back over here.
Yep.
You did the same thing to me once. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah.
Why do we still like him?
I don't know.
You make more money than you have ever made in your entire life because of me.
You still goal line back me. No, you. I've said it before. You immigrant jobbed me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a cheaper labor.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I already worked there.
I know.
Still, they saw another
Yeah.
option, and you took it instead of standing on business, like Hannibal does.
How do we get the same output with half the mouth and only 3/4 of the money?
I'm a quiet worker.
Hard man.
Puts his head down, gets the job done.
But go subscribe to the Softcore History Patreon because keeps these guys in the furs and the boots.
Yeah, we could
Yeah.
also just do this for our whole job if we get to the
Enough
point
people.
where
And wouldn't all of you fans love that?
Because you'll get more content if
You don't
this
even
is our
want to
only
know
job.
what us off the chain is like. Where this is our only content we have to focus on.
You get stuff from Rob at home. Wouldn't you want to see dad life?
Yeah, Rob came in a little late. His baby almost had an oopsie.
He had a little oopsie daisy. Fell face first onto our fireplace, split his head open. Had to take him into the ER to get some stitches. I actually still have toddler blood on me. Giorgio was trying to drink it before I got in for the adrenochrome.
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
get that.
Lick it off.
Rob
of me
was
like
actually trying to make a sacrifice to Baal.
2-ball. Yeah.
Oh, I bet your oranges are going to go great this year.
Yeah, I just want the Patreon to grow, and that was what the ball sacrifice was for. Don't make me finish the job. Subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/softcorehistory.
Yep.
All right, guys.
And I'm glad it was Finn. You know, he has to go through some adversity.
I mean, they've both been to the hospital at this point.
I did that when I was a kid. When I was 2, I split my lip open and kind of hung down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, this thing was deep.
I fell through a window.
My wife ran over and she was like, "He's bleeding. Get a thing, get a towel or
You're
something
like, I
like
can
that."
see his skull.
And literally, I was like, like within a split second of seeing it, I was like, "No, we need to go to the hospital right now. Like that needs stitches. Full stop. That
Now that Courtney is a stay-at-home mom, she needs to learn how to just kind of put in stitches.
I think I did see his skull, to be honest. I'm not even joking because I had to sit there.
At least it's still soft.
Yeah. Well, no, that would be bad because the front part's the first part that gets hard on the babies because that's where they eat it the most. And like they were telling me about that, but I had to. So the way you give a 1-year-old stitches, by the way,
You gotta get him one of those helmets that Stu Pickles makes in Rugrats that they play football in with the
But how do you give babies
chocolate
stitches?
milk.
Rory had one of those, but that was because his skull was weird. How you give a baby stitches is you wrap them up in a sheet so that they can't move, and then you lay down on them while a nurse holds their fucking head because they're just like, no. So, God, I had to like watch a needle go into his, not even his epidermis, like just dermis. I mean, I could see like the fat in his like forehead. It's not great. Not what you want to see. Anyway, yeah, I had to just like lean on my child as he's staring at me like, "Why are you doing this to me?" And I'm like, "It's okay, twinkle, twinkle, little." And he's like, "No, that's a lie. No stars are twinkling."
You going to take him to a dermatologist afterwards?
He'll be fine. He's 1 year old. That scar's gonna be gone. I mean, I've had stitches on my face and scars are gone, and that happened like in college and shit.
Your whole face is like one big scar.
What the fuck does that mean? It's not nice, but it's mean. I don't understand it, but it was mean.
And with that, you just got soft served.